Yo, what's going on, everybody? Cuffin the Dip coming at you guys with another one, DJ Khaled voice. As you guys know, this will be a little bit different this time, guys. We will be streaming the game. It is me, Just a Man '04, Moonwalk Coins, aka Big Milks. Definitely, definitely going to be live. So we're going to go ahead and tune into that Russ AMA while we're doing it. So this is the lineup that we have. I will drop myself down because you don't want to see me. You want to see just a man raging. So we're more than ready to see what's going on here. So I love that we got grind time here. I appreciate you for being here. So let me go ahead and cut on the audio for Russ and see what's going on, man. Let's see what's going on. All right, so it looks like we got about 1 more minute left. What's going on, Stevie? What's up, grind time? Welcome to the building. I got these chucklers, as you can see, their mics are popping up at the bottom of the screen. They are hilarious. Wish you guys can hear it, but we do not want to interrupt that good old fashioned Russ audio as he begins this Twitter space. So we're we're ready to get this started. It is 5 p.m. Hopefully Russ does start this space promptly so that we can what there it is. Let's get in there. Or might okay, so let me know if you guys can hear the audio or not.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you guys could please not request yet until I can bring up Max and some co-hosts. Just give me just a minute, okay?
Let me know if you guys can hear audio or not.
In just a few minutes, we'll let everybody get in here. Let's try and get Max up here to also speak. So give me just a sec, guys.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get this stream started. We're going to go ahead and start gaming and let you guys listen to this Russ AMA, and then we'll be tuned in too.
All right. Well, trying to find him on here. I know this Twitter space gets a little confusing when you get over 1,000 people right off the bat. It's almost impossible to get people up here to speak and request and co-host once it gets kind of filled up. So we'll see if we can do it. Here we go. I'm gonna bring Han on to co-host, and she can help me find Max through the haystack here as well. There we go, Han. You should. If you see Max in here, Han, go ahead and bring him up. Guys, please, if you just request afterwards, let me get Max up here first, and then you guys can request because we'll do questions afterwards. I want to make sure, obviously, we can get him in here so he can give you guys the tech spot. Aaron too. Aaron's in here too, so bring him in here. And MK should be in here too. So if you see any of the developers, just bring them up as speakers. I'll try to find these guys too. So hang on, guys. Just bear 1 minute with us while we try to navigate through the fun world of Twitter. Okay. Well, I'm gonna let Han try to find these guys. Han, when you find them, just bring them on up. So we'll get started, and so we can get Max and the rest of the guys up here. So we did a kind of like a little impromptu AMA last night. So we'll kind of go into a little bit of that as well for those of you that obviously missed it because it was kind of late and we just wanted to get on here real quick and talk about a few things. So we'll go over that first, and then Max will give you a little bit more of a breakdown of what that looks like and give you everything that goes with it. Hold on a second. Sorry. Okay. Han, you can unmute yourself. I don't have that ability. You just got to push that little blue button on the bottom.
Okay. All right. I'm up.
There you go. Yeah, just bring up Max, and then they're in the group somewhere. I can't see them in here, but if you can filter through and find them and bring them up, that would be great.
Okay, let me go in here and find them.
Yeah, Max, MK, Aaron, they should all be in here. So I don't see them on my list, but if you can find them, bring them on up. So anyway, so we came on last night. We talked about it. So there's a couple different issues that kind of took place during our live launch. First one is when we load tested and we had everything on the main net and test net for State Realty, we did all of our testing preemptively, to ensure a safe and fair launch. As we, it's very highly anticipated launch, and this is something that is not only common but happens just about every time within the blockchain when you have so many people trying to get in at the same time. And I used the analogy last night of 1,000 people trying to walk through a single doorway at the same time. It just doesn't happen. It's like Black Friday all over again. So the same concept took place on our platform, on Saitama specifically. So we load tested in anticipation of X amount of millions of hits per second or per minute, and it increased our servers and our infrastructure and capability to satisfy some of that. But as we went live, there was just a crazy amount of traffic. So we had to then on the fly increase our usage. We increased it 10x at first to handle capacity in our network. And that wasn't enough because we were able to log in, you were getting a network error, the screen wasn't loading. These are all things that happen when there's just too much traffic on the server, too much traffic on the network. It's nothing, technically wrong with Saitama. It's just that's what happens when you overcrowd, our infrastructure and our servers. So 10x wasn't enough, and this is after the launch time, right? So it's launched live, and people weren't able to get in. Some people were. They were able to get in and obviously swap. So those were some of the first transactions that went through. And but 99% of people were not. So we increased it then to 100x, and it took a little while for us to do that, to increase it to that capacity. And then people were able to get in and buy a little bit more frequently. And even then, it still wasn't enough. There was a lot of congestion still. So that's something that we've had to remedy and that we'll have to do moving forward, for our more exclusive launches that we go to do in the future. As I mentioned, this was a little bit kind of a guinea pig launch for us, where it's something very unique. And you can anticipate as much as you can. You can load test as much as you can, but you don't really know what that congestion is going to look like until you actually start getting user interaction. So we increased it to the 100x, and probably the next time we do a launch similar to this, we'll have to even do more, like 300 or 500x, whatever. But that's just one subservice. So there's individual subservices for each thing, not just for the login portion, but for when people go to get onto the app, the swap feature. These are all individual subservices that take place. So we have to then increase each single one incrementally to sustain that kind of volume, to sustain that kind of interaction on our platform. So that's kind of the first problem. And so we mitigated it as we went, increased our subservices along the way. The second part is something we cannot control, and that's congestion on the blockchain itself. So some and most of you guys may know already, but for those that do not, Saitama is a decentralized platform. We are a portal that allows you to interact with the blockchain on our platform. We don't control the blockchain, and we do not control interactions and transactions that occur on the blockchain. We just allow people to access it through our portal via Saitama. Once you engage in a transaction or you try to complete it, it goes into the blockchain for either a submission to where it's accepted or rejected. If it's rejected, it could be from a million different things, right? Too much traffic on the server, too many people trying to buy at once, your slippage isn't set high enough, your gas isn't enough. There's a million different reasons why your transaction may succeed or fail. And we don't control any of those attributes because it occurs on the blockchain. Now, eventually, when we have our own blockchain, then we can have control of it. Then we can have access to some of these things and make some corrections along the way. But as a portal, similar to any other configure or API swap or decentralized platform in crypto right now, whether it's Uniswap, SushiSwap, SheepSwap, whatever other swap indication or platform that's out there, it still interacts with the blockchain. We just have the tools and act as a portal for people to transact on there. So, of course, and it's not unique to Saitama, it's not unique to Saitama, it's just unique to the pair and the blockchain occurrence that was trying to happen at the same time. Being that there's hundreds of thousands of people trying to interact with that exchange at the same time, the swap mechanism, the Saitama to Saita Realty. So that obviously causes some congestion. And like I said, it's not unique to Saitama or any other highly anticipated launch. It happens with any launch. And if you guys that have been around for a while and you have a highly anticipated launch on any platform, and we'll use Uniswap as reference because it's the biggest, decentralized platform out there. If you have a launch that's on there and you have so many people trying to interact and engage for that swap mechanism at the same time, you're going to get a lot of failed transactions. That's why people say to put your slippage up to 50%, make a custom GUI setting to high as it can go. And even then, you still may not get your transaction to go through. It still may fail because on platforms such as Uniswap, now you're competing against front run bots. You're competing with, people that have a full team of folks that are sitting there trying to swap ahead of you that are running, systems and have the technology to kind of do that. Here, Han, can you mute your thing? Mute your mic, please.
I am stuck. My screen's stuck. I can't go anywhere. I can't add anybody. I nothing.
Oh.
So if anybody is in the room that is requesting to speak, can I ask you for a favor and cancel the request right now to see if it's going to unlock the room, please?
I invited Theta Empress. If you could just, I invited you as a co-host. If maybe you can help out. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. If you could just remove yourself because there's a lot of feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Russ. Thank you.
There we go. That's better. Can you do me a favor and see if you can find Max through the...
Absolutely.
And any Aaron, MK, they're all in here. We just can't get them on here.
Okay, I'll try to get them up. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you. Anyways, so yeah, so those are some of the things that kind of occur, in a normal launch, right? And those are things on the blockchain that we cannot enforce, we cannot protect, we can't do anything with it because we don't control it. We don't control the blockchain. We will eventually when we have our own, but right now we can't. And these are similar things that happen on any launch, right? Like I said, it's not specific to Saita Realty or anything like that. Once it leaves the Saitama platform and enters the realm of the blockchain, if that transaction ever gets approved or does not, out of our control. So those are the two main issues that kind of happen, right? The congestion on our end, which we can control, which we have put an action plan in place to scale out and build up our infrastructure. So we did a little bit on the fly last night where we increased our subservices on multiple different platforms, to 10x at first and then 100x. And these are subservices that we're going to leave. Okay, so as obviously now and today and tomorrow, we won't have as much congestion on Saitamask because there won't be, hundreds of thousands of people click and refresh 100 times trying to buy the same token. So now we've optimized it. So the daily usage is going to be much greater now. We didn't anticipate having to scale out that much right away because these things cost a lot of money, but we didn't. And we just kind of had to, pull the trigger on it, make it happen preemptively and ahead of time. So now it's there and we'll leave it. And now we even realize and recognize that the next time we do an exclusive launch, we'll have to even scale it out even more. Like I said, we may have to do 300x, but we know now. So and that's part of the learning curve. And that's part of, having this platform and kind of pioneering things is there is no roadmap to follow. There is no set of instructions in the box that tell you how to do things. We have the resources and the manpower and the knowledge to do these things, but it's still a little bit of trial and error, right? So we ask, for everybody's kind of patience in this process. And yes, it's frustrating. Of course, it's frustrating. Not just you, but for us too, because believe it or not, we want everything to go as smooth as shit, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we got to kind of adapt on the fly, and that's kind of what we're having to do now with some of these things. But knowing what we know now, the next time we do a launch, it'll be much smoother. So kind of chain events that occurred from there. We did the launch the token, kind of bottleneck, had to increase our subservices. We had the max transaction set to 5 trillion max buy per transaction. And we had to shut it off for a split second to do a few things on the back end to kind of make some adjustments to the contract to make it operate smoothly so people could transact, and also to fix our infrastructure internally. And during that time frame, a few people were able to get in and buy whatever, like 1 quadrillion tokens for, X amount of Saitama. So it wasn't really ideal. It's something we recognized right away, and we're able to blacklist those wallets in there. So the wallets that at that time, I think there was like 30 or 40. Anybody that had over 5 trillion tokens at that time, we blacklisted, and then we'll just reimburse their Saitama tokens, right? And that's something that we'll do. And instead of just canceling the entire launch, and that way we blacklisted those wallets, and then we'll reimburse their Saitama tokens, and they could have the 5 trillion. And that was kind of the plan moving forward from there. So there was a few other functionalities, inside the transaction module that we had changed and had to adjust on the fly. Like I said, that being one of them, being able to switch that function off during that time. People, swap X amount of tokens for, the Saita Realty was over. I can't remember. I was looking at we spent all morning looking at these Etherscan reports and going back and forth and trying to configure it and figure everything out. And it was a couple buys I saw was like 1 quadrillion tokens for, I think it was like 1 or less than 1 ETH at Saitama. So so we'll figure that and sort it out. They've already been blacklisted, so they can't drain the liquidity from Saitamask or drain the liquidity from the Saita Realty token and push it through. Now the reason why they're able to do that, there's a lot of ways that people can interact and push things through. You can push transactions through the router on Uniswap through different ways as long as you have the contract address. It's not easy, it's a pain in the butt. And normal people, that trade don't really know how to do that stuff, but is it possible? Yes. I mean, lots of things are possible on the blockchain. It's not a system that's foolproof. There's always ways around to do it, and the people that know how, they can do that. So how do we mitigate that? Like I said, we just blacklist it, then we can reimburse with Saitama tokens to make sure that we're in line keeping it fair, so these guys don't have 2 quadrillion tokens and dump the project or pull the liquidity out. So right now, the way that it stands is State Realty, you can still swap for it, but you can only do small amounts. And that's because some of the liquidity was taken out when a few of these wallets were able to buy and sell. And even with the 5 trillion, you can make multiple transactions. So buy 5 trillion, and then again, a few minutes later, buy 5 trillion more, and then kind of pull some of that liquidity out. So what we're going to do is add more and increase the buying opportunity so people can buy more. You can still do it now, but it's in small transactions because there's not a lot of liquidity in there. So like I said, what we'll do is we'll add more so that people can transact and get the max buy of the 5 trillion and have it function and flow smoothly as a normal trade or swap should. But there's a few things that we need to fix on there first. So that's what they were doing this morning, and kind of going through it and going through under the hood of the Saitama and kind of patching some of these things up. And then once everything's functional, we'll add more liquidity in there so people can transact and swap more tokens. So there's Max. So he can probably give you a little bit more of a technical aspect of it. I know I try to do my best to dumb things down, but I'll tell Max. I'm gonna make you a co-host, but let's try to keep it as easy as possible. I know sometimes you talk to me, I get a little lost. So not everybody is a blockchain enthusiast. So hopefully.
Yes,
can,
I sent Max the request for the mic. Guys, everybody else who is requesting at present, please close out your requests. I'm closing you out. As fast as I close you out, you're coming back up. Okay, here we go. Here is Max.
There's Max. So hopefully
Aaron is in here as well. I'm trying to get him up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and Max, hopefully you were able to kind of hear a little bit, so and you can pick up a little bit where I left off, so we're not duplicating information, but just kind of letting people know kind of what happened in chain of events, and maybe you can break it down just a little bit more even so than what I did on a technical level, so people can get a full understanding of how things transpired and what we've done, and furthermore what we're doing now to increase our infrastructure and put out our action plan that we created this morning to move forward and maximize what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, you touched pretty much on a high level onto everything that we kind of were discussing before previously in private, but I can go through it again just to give a little bit more insight on what we were or what you were mentioning. So as far as an infrastructure, our infrastructure actually does pretty well. We did a lot of load testing for about like 85 million or about like 90 million hits within like a 5-minute time span, and it did perfectly fine. What we received a bottleneck was on our blockchain calls. We were getting some rate that we found that we saw some rate limiting calling or interacting with the blockchain through the application underneath. I think at one point we saw that we were getting at least 14,000 connections a second just for different interactions, which is it's a ton if you're in tech and you've seen that stuff. That's quite a bit. So we hit some limits that we had. I think we had 120 million, like how you mentioned, that we kind of went 10x and then we went 100x. We had 120 million calls over through like the blockchain. So that's something that we're obviously, coming up with our next architecture and infrastructure plan to try to mitigate that, so that we actually saw a few things there that definitely can be made better or grow. The other side of the issues that we saw from the evening was the arbitrage, right? It's what we were talking about is that there was a few folks that were able to buy a little earlier, and then we got them blacklisted. After that, we also saw that there was somebody that was interacting with the router and the factory directly, swapping tokens and performing an arbitrage with Uniswap. This has nothing to do specifically with Saitama, but if not, there was going back and forth between Uniswap and Saitama. So we're still looking into that and getting as much information as possible. And then, obviously, after that rolls out, like Russell mentioned, we'll be rolling out more liquidity into Cider Realty, so everybody can, continue swapping, and then we'll reimburse also the people that were able to buy early on for a little amount, just because obviously we did have a bit of congestion with our blockchain calls, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Did I miss anything, Russ, that you touched upon? Because I was going back and forth trying to get in here.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, and there was a lot of things like going on kind of throughout the evening, and basically we were just trying to, mitigate things as they were happening. So, okay, here's a problem: we got congestion on the blockchain, as Max mentioned. We were getting an X amount of calls per second, and our infrastructure was only capable of receiving, a smaller amount. So having to scale it out on the fly through a subservice, and pay for it and interact with it and change it right then and there. But all the while, some transactions were still going through. So the ones with the larger wallets, as Max mentioned, we had to blacklist them, reimburse them with Saitama tokens. And right now, people can still transact, but it's smaller amounts. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And that's kind of the scale of events. It's what happens from last night up until now, even today, and that's kind of regrouping and looking at some of these ETHScan reports and checking it out. So, but yeah, I've seen a lot of crazy things. Like we said, we don't control the blockchain per se, right? That happens on its own. Saitama is just a portal for those transactions to start and end. Like we just get notifications and you do as the user if that transaction was successful or if it failed. And that's on any decentralized platform, right? Even on Uniswap, it'll tell you, okay, you go on the EtherScan report and you can actually track it. How many nodes it goes through, how many times it was approved, and if it was disapproved, it just comes back as failed. And if you don't really know what you're looking at, and you can't really say why it failed, it just comes back as failed. And that's something that you have to actually be able to look at each transaction. So it's impossible for us to dictate that, but I just want you guys to know that that's something that we do not specifically control. Right? We don't control interaction on the blockchain. That's not what Saitama is. We still operate on the ERC chain. Saitama is just a portal for that to go through. So moving forward, what we kind of done, and Max, I know I mentioned a little bit, we're, beefing up some of our infrastructure a little bit and adding some of these things to take place and, adding some liquidity in there to Cider Realty so people can kind of, swap larger amounts. It's still open. Max, looking at the data now, is there still any issues there now since we've kind of increased our subservice, or is it still, are you still seeing some congestion in there?
Not specific congestion. It seems like everything is running through smoothly as far as how people can get on. The congestion, what it affects is once you're on the Saitama and then you push the button and you're trying to get a balance back from the blockchain, or you're trying to do a swap and it has to do some calculation from details from the blockchain and you don't get it, or you get a network timeout. That's what you would see when you have congestion. From what we see from the reports, it seems to be perfectly fine, but obviously we're going to be incrementing that and monitoring as we go along.
Okay, cool. I think that was first of all that we wanted to kind of touch on, just to kind of give you guys a chain of events and let you know what happened from beginning to end and up until now. So now we'll go ahead and take a few questions, and I'm just going to go through the list. So I'm just going through each person on here. Try to keep it short and sweet so we have enough opportunity to get to as many questions as possible. So in no specific order, we'll go here. Old guy Dave. I don't know, you always pop up first in mine, but I'll add you as a speaker. I'm sure you'll have some good questions for us. So go ahead, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So, hey, Russ, you talked about the max transaction amount and how you had to turn it off. So I'm actually looking at EtherScan right now. Technical question. Max can help me with this one. So when I'm looking at EtherScan, I'm looking at, let me hit the refresh button so I get the exact time. 22 hours and 29 minutes ago, the max transaction amount was edited inside of the contract. That contract, when you get rid of the proper number of zeros, ends up being, I think, 120 septillion. Okay. Just after that, at 2 hours and 22 hours, 2 minutes ago, that was changed to 5 sextillion, right? When you look at purchases that went through of those blacklisted wallets, and I'm not one of them, absolutely bought their tokens during the time period when Max or whoever was controlling the contract had allowed that many tokens to be purchased at a time. And then 19 hours, 40 minutes ago is when the max transaction was set to 5 trillion tokens, which was what we've been told about in the AMAs. So when I look at the contract on Etherscan, I'm seeing where those controls to set those max transactions amounts were actually controlled and changed to those amounts by the deployer after individuals were already able to start trading. So that's what I'm seeing on there. So those wallets bought based off of the contract deployer's changes, they were able to buy in those large amounts. And it did get changed at 19 hours, 40 minutes ago. Also, 18 hours and 11 minutes ago, I'm looking at the update cooldown timer, and I'm looking at the current contract on the read option on Etherscan, and it shows where the cooldown timers says 0. So I don't see where a 30-second or a 60-second cooldown is set on the contract at any point since launch. So if Max could help out with those two things, we'd really appreciate it. But I see it as maybe an improper entry into the contract versus setting the correct amount.
Sure. So we can break those down. So for the first part, what was happening, from a technical side, not what was going on with the buys and things like that, because obviously we weren't monitoring the buys. What we were doing was we had to turn off the max TX amount from the 100, well, the total supply, which was 120 quad. Because we needed to be able to add liquidity, because it doesn't let you add 54 quadrillion, because obviously if it was set at 5 trillion when the contract was first deployed. So we turned that off. We turned it on to it was 56 trillion because it's a big integer, and somebody on the team made a mistake, and then they updated finally to 5 trillion. During that time, they were able to buy, and that's when we noticed, because people were telling us, "Hey, look, some people were able to buy a large amount." Then we started blacklisting those wallets. So then we were like, "Well, let's get them blacklisted, and then we'll figure out what to do after that." And then the second question, for the cooldown period, there were people that were receiving an error, or at least not able to interpret the errors that they were receiving, because they were saying, "Oh no, we're getting an error when we're trying to swap." But they were getting an error because there was a 30-second cooldown period, and you can see that in Etherscan. If not, I can send it out or put it on my Twitter, where they can see where we had it enabled and when we disabled it for some time to allow people to get in, just because people were complaining a lot that they weren't able to get in. They didn't understand that they had a cooldown period of 30 seconds, because every time you send a transaction, you would hit the cooldown period, and then obviously you wouldn't be able to buy.
Yeah, so when I look at the contract right now, it still shows the cooldown is 0. Or do you have that cooldown actually in Saitama? Because on the contract it says 0.
Yes, on the contract itself, we haven't re-enabled it, but we do have a control on the app itself. But once we got over everything and got everything back on, then we were going to enable it back to the 30 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever the team decided to put it back up to. But we have a control on the app itself.
Okay, and then a very technical question when it comes to whatever servers you're being hosted through. So y'all had to go in last night, and y'all had to change from, you went up to 10 times and 100 times, and I don't know if you've gone up since then. I mean, what kind of, and you don't have to tell me who you're paying for it through, but what kind of service are we paying for if we have to manually make these requests to do that versus a contract through, a web services hosting, Amazon Web Services, whoever, where it's built into the contract that as the volume increases, that it automatically opens up the bandwidth to allow additional users in. And then what is the what does the actual back end infrastructure at Saitama LLC look like to actually allow that additional bandwidth to come through as well?
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that we're actually using, or where we saw the bottleneck, is not necessarily our actual servers where we're hosting the back end infrastructure of our application. If not, it's the the interaction with the blockchain. I don't know if you're familiar with Infura or Morales or any of these other API services that you use to interact with the blockchain nodes. While in parallel, we're creating our own nodes and setting up our own data center so we can interact with the blockchain directly, but that takes time. So right now we are using those type of services, and they do not auto scale. They go to a specific point and it gets set to. I don't know if you've ever used I'm going back to Infura. I'm using them as an example because we use multiple different services, and they're all different services for the same goal, just to build a little bit of redundancy to make sure that if one their service goes down, the other one can take over. But the blockchain services, those specific ones do not auto scale. But everything else that we have on our end, as far as infrastructure, we are using serverless, and you just pay for as much as you use, and it auto scales perfectly fine. But for the blockchain, that's kind of where we have our bottleneck. So that's why we're trying to come up with our own data center and our own nodes, so that we don't have to depend on somebody else's services to be able to do that.
Okay, and last thing, I promise to step down. When it comes to the people that hold tokens right now, I've got a 1.5 trillion Saitama or Sata Realty. I did it just to try because I wanted to be able to review it accurately. What happens to everybody that holds Sata Realty tokens right now? Is there going to be a relaunch, a migration, or have y'all figured out a way to save the project in its current form so we can hold our tokens and be able to show value from that later?
So I believe the idea is to save the project as in the current state, not to put everybody through another launch. I think we're going to release more details on that to make sure that everybody can just hold on to the tokens. Those who bought early within that time frame at the beginning, where nobody else could get on, then they're going to be reimbursed. But everybody else can continue with their tokens. We planned on burning tokens initially, anyways. We were going to burn about like 40% of tokens. Since those wallets can't trade or transfer or do anything with the tokens that are there, we're going to actually count those tokens into the burn if everybody's okay with that. Of course, being part of the community, that's something that we all have to talk about.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much. And Warrior sent me a couple DMs. He would absolutely love to get brought up to ask some questions. All right. Thank you. I'll step down.
All right. Thank you. We'll see if we can find them up.
Thanks, Dave, for the good question. I kind of need for some good technical questions. I know that Max is trying to give you guys some insight on what that looks like, but just to kind of piggyback on what he's saying with the subservices, like they don't happen automatically because these subservices cost like a ton of money, right? So we have payment system set up on file that's automatic for a monthly subservice. But if we're talking about going from a 10x to a 100x, right, it's not like an extra $10, right? It's like an audit. I told you guys, you'd probably crap yourself. It's tens of thousands of dollars to increase your bandwidth or your subservice for that. So it's not something that they can just do automatically and then just send us a bill, right? Like we'd get pissed if we got a bill in the mail for an extra $100,000 and be like, hey, you guys did this without our consent. So it's something that we have to actually physically do manually with them and say, hey, we need our bandwidth or we need our subservice increased, 10x or 100x or whatever we need it by. So, but yeah, so once we have our own data center, we don't have to rely on them. But that's just part of scaling out and making things, more efficient as we go and as we grow and scale out as a company. So, so let me add some more folks up on here. What we got here? I'm gonna go down line. So we got Faltron. I know you probably. I'll let you speak. And try to keep it short for for everybody else, so we get some more questions up here. But I'm sure you got a bunch of questions from the community that you want to bring up, so we'll try to address those too. Whoever.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I've been here since the beginning. I know all of you. I know you guys are all good people. I know it's a good project. been, you know, so I'm going to preface this with, I'm not, you know, this is and not coming from a place of FUD, but from a place of love. Yeah, yesterday was pretty rough, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It was a pretty rough day. And really, like, you know, we got to start scoring some wins, man. We got to start getting some points racked up on the board, because, man, there's a few community members out here. We're trying our best to be out here for the community, but we're taking a lot of hits, man. And I mean, a lot of hits. We're doing our best to kind of keep everybody positive. But, you know, and I understand that there's things that are out of your control. And, you know, I don't know if, you know, if Max needs help on the back end. I mean, I know he's one guy. I know there's some other people helping. I don't know what it is. We got to score some wins here, man. It's getting rough. Last night was a pretty tough one. You know, I spent 8 hours to rack up transactions. A lot of them failed, and that happens like in a launch. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I will give you that. But, you know, if it's extra servers you guys need, extra hands, I don't know, but I got your back as much as I can. But this is not fun. Like I said, we got to score some wins here, man.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. We do. Like, shit, trust me. If there is anybody in this damn room that is more frustrated with all the things that we've had to endure and all the lumps we've taken along the way, is the developers in this project. You guys feel it too, because it's part of your investment and you're deeply involved in this project just as much as we are. But we feel it, man. We do. And I'm not trying to say it's not frustrating, because it is, man. We take lump after lump after lump, and yeah, we absolutely got to start chalking up some W's, and that's the plan, and that's, you know, what we're trying to achieve. To get back at your point, to try to get some help for Max. Yeah, I mean, he's got a team that works with him, but we're not Google, we're not Apple, we're not Yahoo. We don't have a multi-million-dollar infrastructure to support the uses that we have, to support the amount of users that we have. So we're having to scale out as we grow. And for you guys, I'm sure already know, this project is 100% self-funded. We don't have a 12% marketing wallet. We don't have all these things that create and generate revenue for us, right? Like, we have a little bit of revenue streams here and there, and we're hoping to achieve that with our Fang platform, you know, and with different projects that we launch on Saitama, and of course with some of the microtransactions that occur through our Saitama platform. You know, these are all small bits of revenue that we can use to scale out. But as we created this thing from day one, this is 100% self-funded. So we, myself, and I say this as the entire development team, and even some of the community members, have built this thing out of the inner linings of our pocket. So we don't have $10 million to say, Max, here's $10 million, build this incredible infrastructure up today and make this thing run like a Google service, right? We don't. We'll get to that point 100%. And, you know, and last night and even today too, you know, when we had our internal development team talk, we're like, look, we got to put an action plan together. We got to scale out. We have a ton of users. We're getting some bottleneck. We're getting some, you know, some failed transactions, and that's on the blockchain, but we're having too many issues within Saitama. Like, we've got to scale out and start beefing up our infrastructure. Max, what do you need in order for that to happen? So we have to create an action plan and create a budget moving forward so we can start accomplishing some of these things. So what does that mean to us as the developers? That means we're going to have to break our checkbook back out, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. And, you know, and you'll see people out there trying to FUD on us and say, oh, you guys are just making rich. Russ drives a fucking Lambo, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, man. I put my money into this business because I build businesses, and I'm building this business because I believe in it. It's an investment for me, just like it's an investment for you. You know, we don't have those funds available. So we take out our checkbook, and when we start putting the pen to paper and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to invest $1 million into this project today, not in Ethereum, but money from my bank, so we can build up this infrastructure and get this thing going. It's not because I had to sell Saitama to do so. No, absolutely not. Most of the Saitama I have, we actually put into liquidity and Saitama. So everything that we do is for the better purpose of this project and to build it up. Not because we're greedy, not because we're money hungry, because I promise you, myself, I can speak for myself anyways, I could have retired a long time ago. But I want to make this thing well, and I want to build it, and I want to make other people successful. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. It's not worth the headache, right? All the stuff that comes with it. But when you're passionate about something, you want to see it do well, and you want to see something succeed, you do whatever it takes to make that happen. Some people are driven by other motivations, but that's our drive, and that's what we're trying to do. So we put a game plan and an action plan together, and created a budget, and said, Max, what do you need in order to make this thing really function smooth, aside from time, right? Because not only you can't just dump money into something and hopefully it works magically, like ta-da. Like, no, you have to build these things out. You have to create an infrastructure. You have to bring in personnel, but not just personnel. Like, you can't just go to the Yellow Pages or Fiverr and say, hey, do you have blockchain experience? Well, yeah, I did this, that, and the other. I know they still have to be familiar with our platform because it's not a replica of something else. We created it and coded it, so they need to be familiar with our infrastructure and our coding and our platform to then be a help, right? So we're gonna have to train people to teach them how to work and how to operate within our system to make it more efficient, and then scale out all our services, and then start to create our own servers and doing all these things. And that's all part of the roadmap for Saitama, to make it more efficient down the road. But is it going to happen in the next 6 hours? No. And that's why it's always been a long-term project. So we have to get the fundamentals down now and create a functional platform and concrete and stable, so we can add banks, so we can add our edutainment platform, so we can introduce metaverse into it, so we can have all these, the play to earn games and all these different things and subportals within our platform, integrating in exclusive tokens, having 10,000 tokens on our swap. These are all things that we will scale out to and achieve over time, but they do not happen immediately. Like, these are things that we have to think long term and from a 10,000 foot view, and build things brick by brick, right? It's not a ready to go Lego set, man. You still got to put this thing together one piece at a time, and that's what we're trying to do. So it gets frustrating. We absolutely need to get some W's up on the board, and we will 100%. We always have more than one thing cooking at the same time, all the time. And the plan was to get this thing rolled out smoothly, but it's okay because we have other exclusive tokens that we want to bring on, and this is our own. I would rather fumble the ball a little bit with our own token rather than somebody else's, right? Like, this is a good opportunity for us to know what needs to get fixed. We will fix it, and we'll make it better. So the next time when we do somebody else's token, like a Lucky Roo or these other exclusive projects we're going to be launching, we'll know where we went wrong. We'll know how to fix it, and we'll mitigate it and do what we need to do to provide a safer and more secure launch the next time. But this is our token, and like I said, it was okay to make this one a guinea pig. And I mentioned this a little bit yesterday in the AMA prior to even the launch, that if we do have any issues, I want them to happen with this token. Not because I don't want to see it succeed, because I know it'll do well, but it's our responsibility. It's our token. I don't then have to explain to another developer and say, hey, we fucked up the launch on your project. Like, I don't have to do that because this is ours. And now we can fix it, and we can make the corrections, and we can do what we need to do, and we can iron out any of the issues and details that we need to, and press on, man. And we'll get those W's. They'll come. Like, we're a big project, and we have a lot of things going, and there's even more that we're adding in on a daily basis. So we just have to be able to time manage the resources and the personnel that we have, and the infrastructure that we've created, and continue to scale out. We've grown so much in 8 months that most companies, especially in tech, they have time, right? Like, you create a tech company in your mom's basement, right? You launch it out and you got 10 users, and you're like, okay, shit, I just got 5 more users. And you scale out a little bit, and then like, hey, we got 150 users now. Let's scale out our infrastructure. Let's build out more servers. And then you save your pennies, and you create a server, you create a data center, right? And then now you can house 5,000 users. Like, we open up the doors to 300,000 people right off the bat. So that's very hard to do. So now we're scaling out, and we're trying to play catch up, and we're trying to do these things. And from a technological side, it's difficult, but we're having to work 10 times as hard to play catch up and add all these things and scale out on a limited amount of resources that we have. So anyway, that's just kind of my thought process on it, and I wanted to kind of reiterate to a lot of people in the community, because I know a lot understand, but some don't, right? It's like immediate satisfaction, like, well, I want it now, and I want things to happen now, and I get it, and it can be frustrated when those things don't happen now. But I want to let you know that it's not because there's any kind of negligence or any kind of lack of ability, rather, for us to do these things. Right? It's not Max's fault. Max is not incapable of doing these things, but he is only one man. He only has a certain amount of people on his team. If we asked Max, would it be nice to have 150 people in your office? He would say yes. Max, would it be nice to have 10,000 servers having capability of doing whatever you want to do, and here's a check for $10 million to go to Best Buy and buy whatever you need? Absolutely. But it just doesn't work that way. So we have to do like normal businesses do and grow and grow and grow, but on an acceptable level and scale out with what we have available to us. So now we're but we put an action plan together, and that's what companies do. You understand an issue, you don't freak out, you don't overthink, you don't overstress, you don't overanalyze. You look at everything, you put it in front of you, you put it on the table, and say, where's the problem? Here's the problem. Let's isolate it. How do we fix it? This is what we're going to do to fix it. Give me an action plan. Put it on paper. What resources do you need? Create a budget. Start making calls. Let's bring some more people in. That's how businesses function. Crypto is no different than any other business on this planet. It's just created a little bit different because the actual product is a digital asset. And that is the only difference. Everything else comes in tandem. So, the right people are in the right place, right? We just need to get to that point. And you're absolutely right, man. Let's get some W's. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. We'll get some more.
For sure. And can I just, this is just kind of a second part to that question, or a similar question, but like there was, people kind of, exploited a vulnerability. I'm not sure exactly what or who or where. There's some rumors online, or at least somebody taking credit for it. And there's obviously, some Ethereum that was tornado cashed into the pits of hell. But are you guys able to replace the liquidity at the current contract, or how are you going to add? Are we going to do are you going to start adding staking here sooner to help balance out the liquidity, or what are some of the plans? And then also, one thing that we noticed is when there was that exploit that was taken advantage of, and there was the big dump, there was kind of a double-edged sword, because although they were using Saitama, they were also receiving Saitama. So not only did they pull the liquidity from the project, the charts also took a big dump as well. Once whoever it was, whatever, rapscallion it was, also dumped, a huge bag of Saitama. I guess that's some of the mistakes you have to make to learn, but have you guys put any thought into any of those things?
Yeah, and I'll let Max talk on that. He did briefly discuss a little bit, and that's what's called like the arbitrage, and that's kind of how. And maybe Max, you can give you guys a little bit more of a in-depth look, like how that happened and pushing transactions through the router on Uniswap, and how that arbitrage took place, and what we're doing to kind of mitigate that. I know that we're still looking at some details on that, but if you could kind of touch on that and give a little bit more of an in-depth, response to that.
Yeah, so we're still looking at through everything to see exactly what happened and how large the damage was. I mean, I don't believe that is as big as he's mentioning on Twitter, but obviously I never go by hearsay, right? We're looking at all of the transactions. It's not necessarily an exploit. It's just, for instance, you can make transactions directly, let's say through Uniswap or Saitama or any other swaps router or factory directly using blockchain. Every function that exists within any contract is publicly available through the blockchain, and you can interact with them if you know how. The reason why everybody uses these applications that sit in front, like Uniswap or Saitama or anything else, is because it's cumbersome, and obviously it's not the easiest thing to do. So you connect and you do directly, and you do arbitrage. What arbitrage is, for those who don't know, is that you're buying at a lower price somewhere else, or you're receiving an extra amount of tokens, which is what he claims, and then selling those tokens somewhere else. In this case, it was Uniswap. So he was performing arbitrage between Saitama and Uniswap. From what we see preliminarily, well, we're going to be, throughout the whole weekend looking at all the transactions. And we, like almost everything we do, we plan to completely replace anything that if has been lost. We're very responsible about that. I've never said that we've set out to do this project to harm anybody, and we always take responsibility for anything that happens. Now, aside from that, you can add liquidity through Saitama. That's something that's already, available and exists. But maybe we can add more information on how to do so for those who do want to do that. And then, this project that, just to touch a little bit on what Russ was saying earlier, we set up this project because we see a lack of either transparency or responsibility or you know safety in the blockchain or DeFi space when it comes to normal people interacting with cryptocurrency, which there's a gap that doesn't allow the masses to come over to crypto. So that's what we're trying to help with. And that's why we started this project, to educate and also provide a safe space to do trading and learning. So that's kind of, what we always stick to. And we always try to be, as transparent and as much responsible as we can be. That's kind of what I can say with that.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, and honestly, that's what we do in hosting these AMAs. It's not too. It accomplishes a couple things, right? Because I promise you, everybody that's on this call right now is learning something. Because we all don't know. Like, I've been around in crypto for a while. Max knows has been around for a while. We know the ins and outs of the blockchain. We know how things operate. We know how to read each scan. We know how to create contracts. But not a lot of people in crypto do. It's just too young. It's too early. So having these kinds of calls and doing the things that we're doing, we're creating a safe space and we're educating people at the same time. Telling you what we're doing step by step and telling you where we went wrong and telling you what we're going to do to mitigate that and fix that. It accomplishes a couple of different things. It accomplishes, us being able to fill you guys in and keep you and being transparent with the project and we're keeping you up to date on what we're doing. But it also helps people to learn and understand, because a lot of FUD comes not from one particular source. It just becomes people don't necessarily understand fully, right? And if they don't have someone to come out and explain and teach you along the way of what's really going on and what had been done and what's being done to correct it, then you'll never know, right? So what we've always done from the beginning is to come out and address FUD right away, right off the bat, like, because it's not really FUD. It's just, hey, you may or may not know of what is actually happening. And when you start to draw your own conclusion based off misinformation, that's when things start to spiral out of control. So and that's all, relative to like what I actually said, like what we're trying to do, create a safe space, like bridge that gap between the user, the investor, and the development team and the project itself, and inform the entire crypto community about what you need to look for, and not even in regards to the State Realty launch or even the Saitama token at all. But the more knowledge you have, the better of an investor that you can be, and then you can take that information and help teach somebody else. Somebody that doesn't want to get into crypto because they don't know enough about it. You are now an advocate, right? And now you have more information. You can help spill that to other folks. So, I'm gonna get to a couple other people here.
And 1 minute, Russell. Let me
go ahead,
answer Faltron. Hey guys, how are you? Faltron, you were telling about this to add up more on IT to assess Max. Max has always be a CTO, and he will be, and I appreciate that. That is somewhere we need it. So Russell, you were not there in the today meeting. We are adding up a company. We are doing a partnership in India, which I was telling you before. They have an IT team with 170 developers for blockchain and around 220 or 210 for normal IT. So they will be our backside to supporting Max for everything what he want to do, and to get the things on the fast track. So on practically that will be ready within a week. We'll sign the NDA, all the contracts. So we'll have a big team behind Max who will be working for Max. So we will cover the IT because we know what important that part is for Saitama. And Saitamas definitely need more hands.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Yeah, and there's more to that too, not just with the IT team and the infrastructure scaling out. We got a lot more stuff that MK is working on with the Indian market and kind of bridging that gap between decentralized and centralized.
And is the router is that exclusive? Is that for SaitaMask or is that a Uniswap router?
We have an exclusive router for SaitaMask and an exclusive factory for SaitaMask. We have our own. Everything that was created for SaitaMask is uniquely for SaitaMask. Even our liquidity pools have nothing to do with Uniswap. Now, if you create a transaction on the blockchain that interacts with both the router on SaitaMask and Uniswap, you can do that, and you can interact with as many routers as you want. That's how you get the arbitrage.
Okay, well, thank you guys for all you do. I'll keep my mouth shut here for a minute. I really appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. Thanks, Max.
No, I think it's important to ask all these questions, stuff like that, because that's why we do these discussions, so we can get as much as information out there.
Right. We'd love to see you out here more. People love hearing from you guys. I know it's it gets a little weird when you're up here in front of 4,000 people, but it gets easier after the second, third, fourth time.
No, yeah. I mean, I
don't
have
think
no
that has
problem
anything to do
personally
with it.
talking. It's more or less just like trying to find a balance. If you ask me, I could probably be here all day and to have questions and talk and have discussions, because I like learning regardless. But that's here nor there. But it's just trying to find a balance between doing the actual work and then having all the discussion. So seems like 24 hours is not enough for me, at least.
Yeah, we all know you're real busy. Thank you, Max.
All right, man. Awesome. Let's see what we got here. Let me see here. Crypto blocks, go ahead, man. I'm going to bring up a couple people, and you guys just kind of go ahead and ask your questions and just try to be respectful of one another's time, too. So I'll add a couple people, then crypto blocks, go ahead, man. And
Russ?
we got a few other people on here, too.
Russ, before we bring up more, would you mind? HTN, Han has had her hand up for a while, as well as President Show.
Oh, okay. She was having issues with her thing. I don't know. Let me
I am good. I just have a couple of technical questions from Max from the community that I've been looking after. The first question is, I do know the answer, but I wanted to hear it from you guys. All of the Ethereum that got burned by the failed transaction, that's pretty much an Ethereum blockchain things, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So any Ethereum that gets sent over to the Ethereum blockchain for gas fees, that's something that gets charged inherently by the Ethereum blockchain. We have nothing to do with that. That's just a fee that gets charged and paid directly to the miners to carry out your transaction. Whether your transaction fails or not, that fee gets paid out because the work is done.
Is it possible that people also get charged for Ethereum and also at the same time losing their Saitama token?
So on the blockchain, that shouldn't be the case now. You should be charged Ethereum, and you shouldn't lose any Saitama token unless you're being charged the liquidity provider fee, which goes to all the liquidity providers on Saitama, if that's what you're asking. But that is the same on any other swap. There's always a liquidity provider fee. It's usually a percentage of the transaction, and it goes to anybody that provides liquidity.
Okay, the status of the swapping in general, not just for Saitama Realty, but is everything else back to its normal swapping status, or are we still waiting on you to turn things services on?
Nope. So as far as swapping, everybody has been swapping fine with all the token pairs. I think that how Russell mentioned earlier that talking about Saitama Realty and Saitama will add more liquidity, so it can swap a lot more. But everything has been fine as of yesterday evening, around 2-3 in the morning.
Okay, when people go in to check the value of the token by doing the reverse of Saitama Realty to Saitama to see the number, it's not showing the value. Is that a continuous thing until you do something about it, or are we expecting it to show up momentarily?
So the value of your portfolio for Saitama Realty now shows up. If you look at your portfolio, you should have a balance, and it should show in USD. If you don't see a value showing up, for instance, if you go on the swap and you click max buy for all the tokens you have, if it doesn't show up, it's because you're trying to buy more than you're able to. As far as the price impact, I believe in the next release we're going to have a little bit more details show up, so that way you can have a clearer picture of why that's not doing that. But that's because you're trying to buy more than you're allowed to as far as the price impact.
Okay, so
Okay, HTN, I think you're in the blockchain.
Or the Ether.
So I did have a few people ask Max that were saying that they tried to transact with the state of realty, and they were saying that they couldn't see the state of realty or the Saitama token. It wasn't showing up on Saitama, of course, saying that Saitama stole their Saitama token. Is it something to do with the liquidity? Or maybe they're just, obviously it's still on the blockchain. It still shows up on the Etherscan, but, their Saitama tokens weren't showing up in Saitama.
Yeah. So that goes back to if they were trying to do it during the time when we were having the bottleneck, those calls, that information, as far as your balance, we're just getting the balance from your wallet on the blockchain. And those are calls to the blockchain. If it's congested and obviously we can't get to the blockchain or, the blockchain itself, whatever API we're using, if we're either using our own nodes or using some sort of external service that we pay for, gives us a limit or a rejection, then it can't retrieve back that information. But that doesn't mean it does not exist or we're out to, steal coins from people. And just to mention it here, I'm not saying that this is what I'm doing, but obviously I know enough and I've been in the space enough that there's far easier ways to get other people's coins. I don't think I would go through this trouble to develop a full application, spend all this time and all this frustration just to steal people's money.
Yeah, no, and if for anybody that's saying like if they don't see there's a common token or whatever, because I've seen a few different similar messages to that. Like it's on Etherscan, right? So there's so many different forms of security integrated and firewalls and things and layers and layers and layers of security on Saitama that we couldn't even get access to your tokens if we wanted to, right? So the quickest and easiest way is just look on Etherscan, man. Look at your wallet on Etherscan, plug it in Etherscan, see your balance, just know that it's there, and please don't resort to social media, man. It doesn't do any good to put those things out there. Like I see tweets all the time. Saitama stole my Saitama token. That doesn't do any good. Because that's not accurate. That's not true at all. Go on to Etherscan. Look at your wallet. Those tokens are still there. They have not gone anywhere. We don't even have that ability to do that. But it creates unnecessary FUD. And it creates unnecessary info because what happens is people read that and they freak out and like, oh, Saitama's a bunch of crooks. They stole $30 of Saitama tokens.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, that's not the case at all. So please,
not at
everyone,
all.
Refrain from doing that. I know it's tough to refrain sometimes, but please, if you have questions or if you have a genuine concern, just do a little bit of research, man, or check yourself. I go on Etherscan, and that's why we have these spaces too, not to send like false information. Like we want to educate you guys. Like if we could hold classes to teach people how to read Etherscan reports, like we can do that, so people have a better understanding of how these things work and how to do some due diligence on your own, because it prevents that FUD. It prevents people
Absolutely.
from throwing out false information on social medias, because all that does is create a whirlwind of negativity, and that's something we don't need, right? Like we got enough stuff going on that we got to spend some positive vibes, right? Get those W's, not to create like a bad atmosphere. So
Exactly.
and yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. So we'll go down to some more questions. I know we've already been on here for a while. I know you said President Shill's been up here for a while, so
yes.
Go ahead, ma'am. You got the floor.
Hello. I just wanted to ask, when are we going to get a viewable chart to see the what's going in and everything in the market cap and everything? And also, do you know the current price for sales, say to Realtor?
Yeah, so it's pretty soon we're going to be launching our at least our charts and our charting platform, so you can see different prices for things. I'm trying to get the Dex tools to start indexing our Dex, which is a Saitama, because you do see the pairs on Dex tool, but they don't index all the transactions. So that's something that I'm trying to talk to them about, but. In the meantime, we're working on our different charts. You can see, the price inside Saitama, and they'll start updating slowly, and you start seeing that coming in.
Okay. Do we have a timeline for the Dex tools charts?
Dex tools charts. It's kind of the ball's in their court
for real.
But I can definitely reach out and get some more information and provide more information when I have it.
Okay, and I've been told to tell everybody to vote on OKX.
Oh yeah, so okay, and thank you for bringing that up real quick. So we have, and I wanted to kind of clear the air about this too. So this is not, we're not begging for a listing exchange. We're just simply asking to activate the community to get this listed because it's an opportunity for us. Like they approached us and to put us on a short list, right, to get listed on OKX. Like, hey, if we get like 5,000 registered users on OKX, we're gonna list like a couple of meme tokens, which they don't normally do. You guys have to understand, like top tier one exchanges don't normally list meme coins. They don't. And I know that we're not a meme coin, but from an outsider's perspective, we're still kind of in that category. But we do have a lot of volume and we have a tremendous community. We have a lot of use case. So that, hey, we want to list you on our community, but we also need to see that it's worth our while to list you guys, and traditionally do not list meme coins onto our platform. So if you guys can get 5,000 users to register and deposit $10, then we can list you guys, put you on a short list, and get you onto our platform, and allow for our users to now interact and buy Saitama on our platform. So it's not us necessarily beg and say, hey, we can't get centralized exchanges without your help. No, we can, and we have plenty, and we'll be rolling some out here shortly. But this is just an opportunity for us. Like, hey, they're not going to charge us a listing fee, and most of these exchange listings, their fees are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's an opportunity for us to get listed on there, and not only that, but it's a short list, so they can do it relatively quick. But they just want to make sure that it's worth their while, and it's something that we, as a very strong community, can do rather easily, right? And hey, and free is good, right? If we, like I said, we don't have a marketing wallet, so instead of myself and Max, shelling out, a couple $100,000 for a centralized exchange, which we have in the past, and which we would, happily do so again. We don't need to, right? Say, we'll list you for free. We just need to, have you activate your community and get people involved. So that's the premise of that, right? And it's easily done. I think that we can do it. And if I didn't think that it was possible, we wouldn't even have entertained it, right? But I think that's something we can very easily do, and it benefits everybody, right? Because they have a huge amount of volume, a huge user interface, tons of people that would be interested to trade Saitama, and of course, it brings a lot more brand awareness and marketing to our project, and that's what we want to do, right? More holders, more investors, more money circulating, price point goes up, kind of gets that W, right? So we need to get some of those W's, and that's an easy way for us to do that. So activating the community is something that we don't do often, but it's something that's very tremendous. So if you guys are able to, please do so. Yeah, and it's not us begging for anything. We're just, as a community, collectively trying to do something that's going to better this project and better this coin and this token itself, and that's something that we feel strongly that will help tremendously. And again, we have more other exchanges that we're working on as well, but this is one that it's an easy W for us. So let's do it.
Just before I go, Max, could you indicate exactly where you see on Saitamask where the current price is? Because I've had a few people say.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. I think you cut out at the end there. So.
Yeah. So right now you can see in your portfolio the cost of your portfolio balance on Saita Realty if you have it listed on there. And the price should start popping up on the chart if you add the token, or if not, not on the core market cap side. That's something else. But if you add the token on your main list, it should start coming up there. But definitely in your portfolio, when you see it listed, it should have your USD dollar amount.
And the price that's reflected there at present, that is accurate for Saita Realty?
That should be accurate for what the liquidity pool for Saita Realty is internal. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. There were a lot of DMs coming in asking that question.
Yes, I received
at least 300 million. I can imagine.
Yeah. And if anybody sends me a message, it's not like I'm ignoring you on purpose. Trust me, I'm not.
It's not. Just, he's just
I'm
under
getting
45 or 5 million. He'll get to you.
Yeah.
Sometime.
And a lot of the times, if it's just like a very repetitive questions, we kind of aggregate them and then we try to answer them through these AMAs. Right. So that way everybody can get those answers, because it's just tough to answer it all day every day.
Absolutely understood. Sorry.
Yeah, we only have 350,000 holders, but I think I get 400,000 messages a day.
Exactly.
But yeah, if it's the same one over and over again, like Max said, we'll just do a quick AMA, and it's not because we're ignoring you. We're just like, okay, well, this question's come up, 30 times, 40 times. We'll put it on the board, and the next time we hold a space or an AMA, we'll address it instead of sending the exact same response to 300,000 people. Makes sense. So okay, yeah. So let's go. We'll take some more questions here. Max, you got a drop dead time, or how are we doing? I know you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah. If we can take like a question or two more, and then I drop off, and then I can get back to doing a few things. And me and my kids were saying, what are you gonna spend some time with them? So I'm trying to balance everything.
I have some more
same.
questions,
I
but
got
I'll
a
let
couple
some
little
others
ones
speak.
next door doing the same thing. So we'll do about 15 more minutes if we can do that. Say that, Chris. I got the kids and the wife all giving me dirty looks too. So
I can
we'll do about
imagine.
15
My
minutes.
husband's giving me looks as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you know how it is. Yeah. I got lots of them. I'm storing them all for when
My
we
question is
retire.
quick.
Yeah. What's that, Craig? What do you mean?
First of all, I appreciate you guys doing this. It was much needed, and I appreciate you guys taking up the responsibility of doing it. Russ, Side Empress, thank you. Max, MK, thank you. So it's a two-part question, very quick. I think we have a lot of loyal Saitama members here who will stick with the project through thick and thin, and I do mean thick and thin. But I do believe that we also know that there's nothing wrong with having a marketing wallet, and I think we're willing to participate in making that a functional wallet. So our devs who are already planning so many different things that we can't even imagine, the last thing they should worry about is resources as far as that's concerned. So what's the plans for a marketing wallet, or the feasibility of a marketing wallet? And then second, specifically Max, since you're CTO, I'll speak to you. What are your detailed plans for increasing or for rebuilding actually investor confidence and building it higher than what it was prior to November? Thank you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. And I'll let Max obviously address the second question, but the first part of it being the marketing wallet. So we're not going to recreate. We're not going to launch a V2 of Saitama, right? We have way too many holders. It's really complex. I mean, if it was something that we wanted to do, we would have done it early on, like in June, right? Where we're like, okay, we don't have a marketing wallet. But you have to understand too, like back then, that was very unheard of. There was no coins that were launching back there with these crazy tokenomics. 12%, 15% tax. That was unheard of. Ours is very simple. A couple percent goes to burn, a couple percent goes to redistribution. I mean, I'm looking at some of these tokens that are out there now. They got 10% marketing and 10% development and 10% this, that, and the other. That's crazy money. I mean, the coin has to jump 40% just for you to break even if you want to sell. So we didn't do that back then, and we're not going to do that now. So for us, from a company standpoint, like how do you sustain life? How do you expand and scale out and generate revenue? How do you do it with a normal business, right? The easy way is, just tack on 10% or 5% development or marketing and do it that way, because that's free money every transaction. But we're doing it the old-fashioned way, man. We're generating revenue as a company should. And how are we generating revenue? Through microtransactions through the platform that we built, right? Or NFTs, like people create NFTs and they do it through Saitama and they do it through our FANG platform, like that creates revenue for us. The State Realty token, there is a 2% tax on there for marketing, so that will help. And it'll help for the marketing aspect for State Realty, but we can dual brand and co-brand it so it's marketing for both Saitama and for State Realty, and it'll help create and build out some of that infrastructure. So there's lots of opportunity for us to generate revenue without having to take it out of everybody else's pocket, right? Like I know you guys are always willing to help and would do so in a heartbeat. I know you guys would, and we truly do appreciate that. But as a company, like it's not your responsibility to pay the bills to keep the lights on. It really isn't. Like you guys are investors and you believe in this project. It's time. We have to do that, right? We have to make sure these lights are kept on. We got to pay these bills. We have these responsibilities as developers to scale out and produce and deliver. That is our responsibility. It's not the holder's responsibility, right? I mean, we could do that, but it's not something that I morally or ethically would feel comfortable in doing. And it's not because we don't need you, because we absolutely do, but it's not your responsibility. At the end of the day, it's not your responsibility to pay some of these bills. And even though I know that you guys would have no problem doing so, right? And of course you would, because you guys are just as dedicated to this project as we are. But again, at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility, it's ours. So we got to generate that revenue through any means necessary. And we have, like I said, we have a game plan, and we have, a strategic plan in place to generate that revenue, to do these things, to do the marketing, to scale out our infrastructure internally, and bringing in other people. And that's how business functions. It's and that's what we fully intend to do. So yeah, that's the plan, man. But yeah, I know you guys would contribute if you could, and we did do like a few times in the past when we were really small, ask for donations for listings and things like that, and we got a lot of sideways talk for it. And at the end of the day, it's true. Like we shouldn't have to ask for donations. Right? Like we're not a nonprofit. We are a company. We should be able to be profitable and then take some of that profit to put it back into the company and expand and develop. So that's what we'll do. So go ahead, Max. You probably already forgot the second question, but I think he was asking, what's the plan to reinstill some of that investor confidence on the tech side from our platform and start meeting some of these deadlines, and start operating in a capacity in which in which we should, right? And that's we have the bar is set very high, and I know you guys know this because you've been in crypto for a while. Saitama is held to a very, very high standard, and I think that we should be because we are setting the standard. So when we don't deliver, when we don't meet some of these deadlines, when we don't have a launch that goes 150% as planned, we get scrutinized for it. We receive a lot of criticism, and that's okay because we should have and we should be held accountable and had that higher standard set for us, and we expect that. So Max, what's the plan? How are we going to reinstill some of this confidence moving forward for some of these guys that have been around for a while?
Yeah, so thank you for reiterating what the question was, because I was like, wait, what was the question again? No, I'm just kidding. So we're working every day, ridiculously diligently. I speak for the whole tech team or the tech side of things, where we're working harder than hard, right? But aside from that, a lot of things that we're doing is reorganizing the way that things are working, doing the things right. Because as if you've been around the project since the beginning, we've been rushing through everything, trying to get it done. I mean, the initial Saitama app, we had it done within 2 months, and then we had to go back and re-engineer things because we wanted to make it better. That's what we're always striving to do, is to make things better. But a lot of things we're doing now is, how MK mentioned, is seeking additional resources and re-architecturing a lot of things, but also providing a lot of automation so we can meet the deadlines, the aggressive deadlines that we're setting for ourselves. Because like Russ mentioned, we are setting the bar for ourselves pretty high, because that's kind of something that we've always done in our own respective lives. But at the end of the thing, it boils down to just keep working hard and making sure that we can get these things done.
Yeah, that's real good to hear, because I got to be honest, FUD is at an all-time high. Anything you can do to, you guys are working hard. I know that for sure, 100%. You guys got a real hard job ahead of you. I do not envy you. But yeah, it's rough out in these streets and on these charts, so yeah, anything, I know any exchanges, any small exchanges, anything, any wins we can rack up there would be much appreciated. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, we got some, man. Give us a few days. We got like I said, we got the OKX competition that we're trying to push for right now because it runs through the weekend, so we're focusing on that. But we got lots of other stuff, man. We got, like I said, I was when I say things, I don't say them just to say them. And when I say that we were out centralized exchange shopping, that's what we were doing. So OKX is just one piece of the puzzle. So yeah, so we'll start stacking out these W's, man. But we're not focusing on that. Like right now, we wanted to come in and focus on the task at hand and create an action plan for the state of realty and kind of address that. But yeah, we got some W's in the bag, man. We're just going to start pulling them out, but we want to make sure that we're addressing this first, and then getting some of that investor confidence back that was mentioned. And the only way that we do that is we just keep our head down and keep working, man, and and being aggressive about it, because a lot of times it's easy to tuck tail and run and hide behind some bushes, man, but we've never been that community or that development team to do that. We get right out in front of things immediately and say, hey, this is the issue, this is what we ran into. Part of it control, other part it's not something we can control, but we can adapt and overcome, and that's what we're trying to do. We're not ones to make excuses. We just say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to fix it, and this is how we're going to do better next time. So we got who we got here for Satan Emperor. I kind of lost
We've
track.
got Cryptobolics. Cryptobolics is next.
Sad Empress, you could take me down. I want to get out the way so you can get
Okay,
other
my dear Craig. Thank you. I'll do that. Cryptobolics, you're next, followed by Mr. Michael Thompson, aka Saitama Builder.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You guys know I love Saitama. I do, but I don't want this to come off the wrong way. So please don't take it as such. Obviously, this wasn't a fair launch. I've bought many launches, so I think I'm pretty good at buying, setting the way, and all that fun stuff, and getting it executed. I was not able to purchase any, along with a lot of other people. Some people did get in, not many. And now you guys will be, essentially not relaunching, but opening it up when you're adding more liquidity in there, allowing people to buy in. But I don't believe that the app was working properly. I don't at all. And it caused because screens weren't loading. I mean, network errors, tons of crazy stuff. I don't feel like it was fair, right? And granted, you guys are innovating, and I completely get that entirely. This is something new, never been done. You guys are doing amazing things, and I love it. But it's not very fair. How do you plan on making it fair for all the people that were not able to execute any transactions and in fact lost almost $1,000 in Ethereum? And I know others are just like me. I've had about 150 DMs of people that lost lots of money trying to execute. So I just wanted, how are you guys going to make this fair, or how are you going to make it work where no one gets burnt on gas fees? And then I have a follow up to that one.
Go ahead, Max. I'll let you kind of. I mean, a lot of it kind of has to do with the blockchain, but I'll let you kind of give your interpretation on it.
Yeah, and so we're not up here, saying that it was working. We 100% said that we had a bottleneck, and that bottleneck was caused by the amount of traffic that we received, and everybody was trying to get on all at the same time. It's hundreds of thousands of people trying to buy as fast as they can. So that's the action plan that we have in place is a re-upped architecture. Obviously, we are creating our own data centers for our nodes for the blockchain to mitigate that, so we don't have that bottleneck. But as far as talking about folks that lost on gas fees, that's something that we're discussing internally to see how we can help with that. That's obviously we're going through it. It just happened last evening. Everybody was up until I think 4 or 5 in the morning in their respective time zones. If you give us some time, and then we can go through it and come up with a full plan, and then roll it out.
That's the best response I've heard, because I was concerned that you weren't going to help the people that did lose there. I don't need anything, I'm fine, but there's a lot of other people that don't have a lot, and they were trying to get in, and that made my night. I was concerned you guys were just going to say it's the blockchain, and that is what it is. But thank you for that. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, we've always been a few things. There's a few things that we've always been, and this is not something that we've just done overnight. Like, we have always been 150% transparent, and we've always been 150% fair, honest, and have nothing but integrity in the space, right? And that's part of the reason why the bar is set for us just a little bit higher, because we have always had that MO, and that's something that we will continue to do. So the last thing that we want to do is lose any kind of investors. We don't want to lose community space. We don't want to lose integrity in the space. We want to continue to dominate in the space and prevail. And whatever we need to do that is something that we'll collectively come together and figure out what is fair, right? And of course, it's impossible to make everybody happy. We've accepted that. But if we can at least turn the tides and try to do what we feel is fair and make it optimal for everybody, that's something that we're looking into. We'll have some information as we gather, and we have our development discussions, and look at all the data, analyze it, and then reflect on it and say, okay, this is what we should do, this is what we have, this is what the bill, this is the option we can see, and we can come together as a development team and figure out the best action plan and how we're going to move forward with that stuff. But as always, I appreciate all the feedback from everybody, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We take it all. I think my man Michael Thompson. I think you're next, brother. What's
Hi, Mike.
Oh, I was
How
just
are
talking
you?
and the phone was on mute. Okay,
Ah,
typical Michael Thompson. But I
welcome. How
appreciate
are you?
everybody. Thank you. I'm very well. I'm very well. I just wanted to say really quickly, a few things, and it'll be fast. But I just wanted to say to certainly the dev team, the work and the commitment, the focus is something that I really appreciate. Just because I've seen business development, been in financial services business 20 plus years, and I've seen companies develop, and I've seen actually companies they've fallen just because of the devastation sometimes with what you experience with setbacks. And one thing that I realized in business, any successful company, and we're talking a company right now, Saitama, that's barely a year old, right? We're talking a company right now. I've seen them fall just because the leadership didn't have the strength or the wherewithal to endure the tough times. And so one thing that I also appreciate, even though, yeah, we're hitting turbulence and, I agree with Valtron, yeah, we're going to collect some wins soon. I believe it. But what I look for most in a company and what I know that makes the separator in a company is the strength and the resilience of leadership during the tough times. It's not the great times that you're able to determine this. It's the tough times. And so when there's tough times, see, I've had the opportunity. I feel excited because I have opportunity to speak with Russ on a regular basis, and the times that I've had a chance to spend with Aaron and MK, and having a chance to really understand those guys in person, you could see the fire in their eyes, you could see the commitment, you could see the drive to just make this right, make this good, and not just to be competitive, but to dominate. And to see it and to witness it in person gives me constant reassurance, recognizing that through the turbulence, I know that we're in great hands, right? And so with that, when I experience even stuff like this, and believe me, my inbox gets pretty full and text messages and calls and stuff. And contrary to popular belief, I am not on the dev team and certainly not in the tech department. So I'm the last one to call for anything like that. But I feel that the fire that we all bring to the table in different ways, like I'm fascinated by hearing some of the technical skill and knowledge of individuals that's on the line, like my guy, old guy, just to hear just even those levels of questioning is fascinating to me. I look at an ether scan. If I really figure out how to get on one, I look at an ether scan and all I know is to see that it's a green success. Everything else on the page is a different language for me. But I understand from a people standpoint that it takes people to build this. And I just want to say to the dev team and to this awesome community that it collectively takes all of us to move this to the next level, even through the turbulence. And speaking of turbulence, I don't like to fly with turbulence. Like turbulence throws me off. Like I have an anxiety with airplane turbulence until one day I sat next to a pilot, literally sat next to a pilot who was flying as well. And I was going through my normal anxiety with turbulence, but this pilot was very calm. He was very relaxed, and I'm panicking. And the difference was the pilot understood what was going on. He knew what represented or what caused the turbulence from an education standpoint. And so in that regard, he explained to me what was happening during the times of turbulence that calmed my anxiety. So during the ride, however, when you're riding, to a destination, my goal was to get somewhere overseas. I think I was going to the Philippines at the time. But literally that ride, it was calming because someone with experience, knowledge, and understanding sat next to me to calm. And I look at Russ, I look at MK, I look at Max, and all the powers that be, and Gabe and Aaron and Nam, all the ones that I've had an opportunity to spend time with during the tough times, during the turbulence. That's when you look at the pilots, and if the pilots aren't panicking, then there's no need for us to panic. In that regard, we need understanding, of course, and that's the job of the pilots. So in this regard, I'm excited to be on this vehicle. I'm excited because I know you can't drive to the Philippines. So if you want to get to your destination, you got to pick the right vehicle. And I believe we're in the right vehicle. So I just want to say to the community, yeah, we're going to take our hits. That's a part of growth. That's a part of growing pains. Certainly, we're going to make some mistakes along the way. That's a part of growth too. The key is just not making the same mistakes. But mistakes is a part of life, it's part of growing. But in this regard, this is where we get bigger together, we get stronger together, and the strong and the strength rather of the leadership. That's what's going to make the difference. And we have it. I've seen it in person, and I've seen it directly on almost a regular basis. And I do have to say to Max, though, hey, Max, man, I never got a chance to meet you in person. I've seen Max in action on regular like Zoom calls, and we've had a few meetings. But Max, we got to get together, man. I haven't seen you in person yet, man. You're the only dev that I haven't met in person, man.
Yeah, we got to make it happen. Anytime. I believe we're still trying to do the whole meeting up in Miami. I think I'll be there. So if not, we do something before that. I don't know. That we got to make it happen.
We got to make it happen. So I appreciate you, man, and certainly your level of experience and expertise. I've seen it firsthand on Zoom on a direct connect. And even then, just fascinated at your level of knowledge. So I know we're in good hands. It's just a matter of putting it all together so it all comes together for all of our good. So, Russ, your dedication, commitment, MK, Aaron, I know you guys' hearts. I know you guys are in it to win it. Aaron is a tiger, man. I've seen him in action. He's ready to win big. And I'm excited for where we're headed. So I just wanted to say to everybody, the community, and certainly to the dev team, so much appreciated. And I know we need answers, and I know we're getting them. And so the fact that you guys are willing to show up. And one last thing, recognize this. How powerful is this? They fly all the way to another country, to Dubai. And how fascinating is this, and how powerful is this, that they fly all the way to Dubai, and the recognition that was specific to Saitama is most transparent. What does that tell you? That just tells you there's nothing to hide. So in an event that's loaded with other companies, loaded with other devs, leaders, and everything, our company gets most transparent. To me, that's reassuring. That's refreshing. That's refreshing. But at the same time, it's well deserved, because here's where we are right now. Look at our dev team. Look at where they are. They're here with us. We see them. We can talk to them. We can ask them questions. That means there's nothing to hide. So this era that we're in, being this early in Saitama and moving forward, I believe that there's nothing but positivity moving forward, nothing but greatness moving forward. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. And I hope everybody is too, because we're on a move and it's happening. When we hit the bumps, it's how we respond. It's how we react. That's the difference. That's going to be the separator. So when we see leaders showing up during the tough times, that ought to be that sign of reassurance to know that you're in the right place. Trust me, I've seen otherwise. So I appreciate everybody. And dev team, you guys rock. Appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the words of wisdom, Mike. As you guys know, Mike's been around since the beginning, man. He's one of the OG guys. Been around through all the trips and the falls and the stumbles and the good days and the bad days. So it takes all kinds, man. It's never ever an easy ride to the top, man. And I've said it a million times, and it's worth saying another million times. If it was easy, everybody would do it, man. You would have many successful crypto projects out there. You wouldn't even know which one to invest in, because they would all be fantastic. But and there is a lot of good ones out there. Not trying to put any down. It's just fact of the matter is it's tough, man. And it's not just in crypto. It's life in general. Anything that's worth taking and anything that's worth having is worth putting that work into. And it always is a struggle, and it's always going to be a tough road to the top, man. But we'll persevere. We'll get there. So we're gonna hop off, man. I know there's probably a few people that have questions that weren't addressed. And we'll get to them. We'll have more information put out for everybody as it comes to light, and we'll try to gather some more questions that folks have. And again, maybe do another AMA or put together an FAQ section or do another Twitter space or something like that. But it was important for us to come out and at least not only last night, but again today, as we got some more information made available to us, and put together an action plan and how we're going to start collectively moving this thing forward in the right direction, and what we're going to do to make things more fundamental and kind of overcoming some of these obstacles that we've been put in front of us again. So so we'll gather some more questions from you guys. I wish we had hours and hours. We could all come on here until every single last question is answered, but we got as always, tons of work to do. You know, we've all been at this thing for 8 months, but more specifically for the last like 48 hours. I think Max and I probably both got at least like 2-3 hours of sleep last night, and the rest of the development team. MK, I don't even think he went to bed yet. You're probably still awake from yesterday in the UK. So yeah, so we'll have some more. We'll get some more information as we get it out to you guys. So we'll call it for this one, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys all again soon.
Sorry, Russ, I have one question for Max. Very important question. Please, can you let me?
Yeah, sure, brother. You got to make it quick though.
Okay, thank you, Russ. I just want to say one thing first. You know, this community is 3,000 people. You know, we try to help this project because we love this project. I know this project can grow very good. We trust you, Russ. It doesn't matter what happened. We are with you. You know something, Russ? Yesterday, I wake up. Still, I sleep. I didn't sleep. Every room, every space is there, you know, to tell people, you know, we are one, we are together, you know, Coke Zero. You can call every name, you know, every people, you know, because we believe in this project. We believe Saitama, it will be a big project next year or this year. I believe that. And we can do it together, Russ. Don't worry. We are here together. We make mistake, we learn our mistake. Very important, you know. You cannot build Rome in one night, Russ. It takes time, it takes years. But the thing is, we must learn our mistake. Yesterday, it was not good, but we're learning. Masks, I have a question for you. Some people, they see, you know, SATA must call it the value in dollar. It is the exact value. Can you tell us?
For Saitama's exact value for the dollar amount, yes.
The SATA reality, I mean, SATA reality value. It's the with dollar with.
Yes, it's the exact dollar amount in the portfolio.
Okay, the last question, Max, for you. You know, so many people that buy very fast. They have 2 trillion, 2 quadrillion. I mean, we are transparency project. You say you block some contract address. Can you show us? You can put it online. Every community, because this transparency project, which wallet address is blocked, we can know it. Can you do it, please, for us?
I don't see that being an issue. Obviously, we can talk as a team. You know, Russ, I don't think that's a big problem. We can definitely, you know, even Russ mentioned it at the beginning. Anybody that bought that had more than 5 trillion tokens were blocked within that time frame. So it's about 40 addresses, and we can put that out there. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that was last night. We had I don't think there was anybody that was able to buy more than 5 trillion per transaction after the fact. So I know that there is some now that have like, you know, 20 trillion, 30 trillion or whatever, but the ones that we had blacklisted last night, I think there was about 40, and most of those held like a quadrillion or like 700 trillion. Yeah, I don't have an issue. I mean, we can post that list, I guess, right, of the ones that we had blacklisted, and those ones, you know, reimbursed through Saitama tokens. So we're not trying to like shame them or anything, right? It's nothing on them. It's just that we have to, you know, blacklist them to protect the other investors. Nobody wants, you know, somebody with 2 quadrillion tokens dumping the price value. So yeah, I mean, we can talk about. I don't have an issue with it if we want to put those blacklisted wallets out and make them public. That's fine. I don't know how those people's wallets or how they would feel about it, but
okay, thank you, Russ. MK, for you, because today we hear the community very good news. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are, how bad you are, you need help. Max getting help, we are happy. I am happy really because he need now some IT, you know, to help him. That is good news. Thank you very much, everybody. Community, we are strong. We can win everything. Thank you. Saitama Empress, thank you. I love you.
Welcome. Love you too, Yanni.
Hey, Russ, can I ask you a quick 10-second question?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah, Russ, Max, MK, Elon, everybody that's come up spoke. Appreciate you. Russ, quick question. OKEX, the exchange. I know it's not open to America, but can we be part of the 5,000 people to help get listed, or is that for only people that are in the other 100 countries besides?
No, so there's a way to do it for people in the U.S. and I put it out there. You know, you can utilize through like VPN, or there's a clone app that's out there that you guys can utilize too. So look on my page. I had retweeted instructions for people that live in the U.S. that want to participate and get us on there. Yeah, so it's a good extension. They got a ton of volume, and it's a good opportunity for us. So I can even go on my page when I get off this call, and I'll pin it to the top for you guys. It's an instruction list on how to do it step by step for folks that are in the U.S. too, because a lot of our investor pool is from the United States. So if you can't KYC because you live in the U.S., just utilize that VPN. So I'll tag it to my profile, and you guys can go up to the top and see it, so you don't have to search for it. And
Thank you, Russ. And what's the timeline? What's the timeline to get those 5,000?
I think it ends today or this evening for us. So sooner the better. So if you haven't done it and on this call, do us a favor and go over there to do that. I've actually asked some developers from some other tokens to give us a hand and help participate as well. We in this space, we got to look out for one another. And I communicate with a lot of developers from different projects. I offer mentorship to new developers that I feel that is going to contribute to the space. It's good. We got to help each other out. So I've reached out to some of these other development teams and said, hey, can you put it out to your community to help us, get some of these listings, to have some of your folks deposit $10 in Saitama on there to OKX to help us out. And then, when it comes back, when they need some help, we can also activate our community and say, hey, these guys are here for us and help us out in this listing. Let's help them out. That's what we got to do. And that's what's going to make crypto successful, is to, all these promising these projects that are legit and they want to, succeed just like we do, to help them get to that point, because we're all going to win. We're all in the same boat together, man. We should all want everybody to win, and not just in crypto, but in life, man. It's so easy to hate on people that succeed and bring people down that don't. That's not the way it should work, man. You got to always be there to pick each other up. That's my motto, and I try to live by that, man. Karma, I believe in it, and treating people as you wish to be treated yourself is something that we should all try to do and attempt to do, at least, because that's what it's about. We're only here once, and just make the best of it. So but yeah, I'll put it at the top.
Hey, Russ, Matt, real quick, just in the essence of time, could you guys give me a follow? I don't want to take up anybody's time, please.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Okay,
Well, can I slide a
Russ,
question in,
hold
please?
on.
I was before you, gentlemen. Give me just a moment. I have a very quick response. I'm sorry, request. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Hi, Trina.
Hi, Empress. My deepest gratitude to the entire development team and a Wolfpack family. Just a really quick request going forward, because I know we're going to have exclusive launches going forward. I'm super excited about it. Maybe we can move more covertly in the future on them, and then also communication check-ins on the major Saitama Inu page. I believe that most people just need that reassurance. Like the technical high-level explanation and clarity is awesome, but just regular communication check-ins from the Saitama official page going forward, just to reassure the community so their minds and their imagination doesn't go places it shouldn't go. That's it. Thank you. I yield.
Yeah, no, and, I try to come out and speak, but it's difficult too, because we don't want to put information. We don't want to just keep repeating the same information. Like we have to make sure that we have all the information and everything is in check and in line with what we're trying to do, and we have all the information to put out to you guys. Because the last thing we want to do is put out some information and then have it backfire. Like put out information like, oh, we're going to be, we should be good to go in 10 minutes, or we've done this to mitigate this problem, because maybe another problem arises, right? Like 10 minutes later, and then I don't know. It's cause and effect.
Yeah, what I mean, Russ, you know how like you're on hold with the IRS for 4 hours, and every 5 minutes they come on and say, "Thank you for your patience. Thank you for holding. We're working very, very hard to make sure we get to our next customers in queue." That's what I meant. Just something super simple.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we do something like that. Like
okay,
automated.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do for us.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. We'll
sorry,
take some consideration.
All right, sorry, Russ. I know you gotta leave, and I was accepted at the last minute.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have enough time. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, we can.
I know you gotta go, and I know you guys have things to do. Don't you mind, like, give me a follow so I can DM you and let you know what I want to talk, and I don't want to take you more time, and I'm gonna let you go. If you don't worry about that, just give me a photo so I can DM you. That's fine.
Yeah, I give you a call, man. And I just so you know, like, if I don't get back to you right away, don't take offense, man. I get like no exaggeration, 500 messages a day, so it's hard for me to get to. But I do trying to get back to everybody at some point or another. A lot of times it gets lost between the tracks. But this space is also recorded too, so you guys that missed it or came in late, feel free to check it out when we end here. So, but yeah, so we gotta get back to work. I'll let Max get back to his team and give some guidance so we can start moving this action plan forward. So, but as we get more information, we'll give it out to you guys, of course, and then we'll kind of regurgitate some things and put it out to you and take all the questions that we missed and make sure that we answer them in a timely fashion and get back to you guys. So thanks for everyone that's coming out, and yeah, and we're on it, man. We're on it. We're here for you, and we're gonna do better. So that's our vouch to you guys, and that's all we can do. So I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, we love
Thank
you
you.
and we support you. Thank you so much, Dev team.